Isn't it the more money a bank has, the more likely they are to stay solvent? You know what solvent means? Okay. The more money a bank has, the more likely it is able to stay open. Banks that don't have much money, or the banks that loan all their money out, are oftentimes in threat of failing. Does that make sense? When you take AP Macro next year, we'll do a whole thing about this and you learn all about it. But if you're a bank and you make your money by loaning money out to people, what happens if they don't pay you back? That's bad. Therefore, what type of people are you going to loan your money out to?
Rich people.
Reliable people that have money. What Jefferson hated about this was that wealthy people could put their money in this bank. It was stable. He didn't care about that. What he didn't like was that the bus tended to loan money out to people who already had money. The bus, well, that's just good practice, right? We're making sure we get our money back. But if you're Jefferson, why does this make you angry? Because average people can't get loans from the bus. So the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. And he said, this isn't even constitutional. Where in the Constitution does it mention the word bank?
Nowhere.
It does not. Therefore, Jefferson would argue, who has to control banks? States do. That is a strict interpretation. A 10th Amendment argument. Hamilton said, wait a second, of course the Constitution allows you to make a bank. Because what gives us the right to do that? The Elastic Clause does, whatever is necessary and proper, right? So it's constitutional. And this is where the big fight, and this is where Jefferson starts to explode. In fact, Jefferson's going to only do one term as Secretary of State and leave because he's really angry about this whole thing. So, this is our strict versus loose interpretation debate, and here are the 5 big parts of Hamilton, okay? Washington ends up signing with Hamilton. He signs the bank into law. Also, who do you think ends up being happy, the North or the South, when it comes to the national bank?
North.
No, the North. That's where all the money is, right? The South has a few really, really wealthy landowners, but for the most part, isn't the North wealthier?
Yes.
And so the national bank, the bus, is going to favor the North, which pisses off Jefferson even more. Okay. Okay. Now I'll talk about the Whiskey Rebellion. I know I'm going fast. Remember on Thursday and Friday we went really slow and talked a lot, so we got to catch up a little bit next couple days. Let's talk about the Whiskey Rebellion. Who was rebelling? Who was mad?
People in the party.
Why were the Western Pennsylvanians so angry? What was being taxed? Their currency, right? Whiskey was being taxed, and they were really upset about it. So a rebellion ensues. Now, what is it? Remember, during Shays' Rebellion, or the Newburgh Conspiracy, or any of the other rebellions, what was the problem for the federal government? E.J., what was the problem? When Shays' Rebellion came around, what was the problem? What was the problem? They didn't have any way to put it down. Is there an enforcement mechanism now? The Articles didn't have one. Is there an enforcement mechanism now?
Yes.
Absolutely. And Washington himself goes halfway with Hamilton. Hamilton goes, and an army larger than any army they ever had, the Continental Army, goes and crushes the Whiskey Rebellion. Crushes it. What do you think the significance of that is?
Shows how powerful the presidency is.
He can ensure domestic tranquility and don't mess with the federal government. This is the states' rights nightmare, right? A strong federal government that can now crush any rebellions. Today, don't we consider the federal government to be more powerful than state governments?
Yeah.
This is when it all starts starting, right? Today, we think of these things because of what we've gone on. And because of this, we start getting what we know today as kind of a party system. Originally, they thought there were just going to be factions, but now we're going into the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. The Anti-Federalists will start being known as the Jeffersonians. Exactly. Today, what are our two main parties?
Republicans and
Democrat and Republicans. Which one do you think has its legacy with the Federalists? Republicans do. Jefferson is known as, in fact, Democrats still have a Jefferson-Jackson Day, like little party thing, right? Jefferson's seen as more the father of the Democrat Party. The Federalists are sort of seen as the beginning of the Republican Party, right? So the Jeffersonians are going to be Jeffersonians and National Republicans, and then, Jeffersonians will be Democrat Republicans, then National Republicans, and then just Democrats. Federalists will end up being Federalists, then National Republicans, then Whigs, then Republicans, right? And it's not 100% even all the way through. But that's what the current we're going to see. All right. Are there any questions? Please ask questions about this first part. Don't be scared. Do we understand strict versus loose interpretation? Do you get Elastic Clause versus 10th Amendment? Hamilton versus Jefferson? The main parts of the Hamilton financial plan. Who was Hamilton, Harley, who was Hamilton favoring? What type of people did Hamilton favor? The wealthy Northerners, right? Is he a strict or a loose interpretation? Loose, good. Jeffersonians are favoring the small farmers, right? Is he tending to be, is his people more rural or urban? More rural. Now when it comes to the French Revolution, this is the next thing I want to talk about, because this is the big giant thing happening around the world. Why does the French Revolution happen anyway?
because they were in debt.
Yeah, what are they in debt from? Our revolution, right? The French Revolution is going to be how people thought about the French Revolution will oftentimes determine if they are more of a Jeffersonian, more of a Hamiltonian. If I ask you one question and you tell me your answer on it, doesn't that oftentimes determine one or two questions if you're more likely to be a Republican or Democrat? If I ask you about gay marriage and you're like, yeah, gay can get married, you're probably a little bit more liberal. If I say, and you say, no, gay should never be married, you're probably more conservative, right? That's fair, right? Or if I ask an abortion question or something like that, that tends to be some big, like, social questions. There are obviously financial questions too, but those are some of the big social questions to sort of separate Democrats from Republicans. There are a lot. I boiled it down to two. But the French Revolution is part of it, right? The Reign of Terror. Okay. One thing I want to talk about, though, before we go, let's actually take a second and go over sort of the basics of the Federalist Party so you understand what they're thinking and you understand what Republicans and Jeffersonians are thinking. Okay, which one of these tend to be more upper class? Federalists or Jeffersonians?
Federalists.
Federalists are more upper class. Which one tend to favor the British? Federalists or Jeffersonians? Federalists do. All right, which one's going to favor the National Bank?
Federalists.
Federalists, okay? Which one do you think tends to be older type of people?
Federalists.
Federalists, right? These are people who have a little bit more security, right? They distrusted the people. They distrusted the mob. John Jay actually said, those who own the country ought to govern it. People who have the money should be the ones who govern it.
It's done.
Or smart. Supported strong central government, much more pro-business, more pro-manufacturing. Alright? That's our basic, right? Loose construction, Elastic Clause. These are our Federalists. And again, our Jeffersonians, poorer, more rural, pro-French people, anti-bus, strict interpretation, strict construction. 10th Amendment people. Know those basics and the rest of the stuff will make a little bit more sense, right? I don't want you to memorize history, I want it to make sense. So understanding who the Federalists are and who the Jeffersonians are going to make a big difference, alright? And obviously also Jeffersonians hated debt, and Federalists didn't mind taking on the debt. Now, if you're a Jeffersonian, what do you think about the Reign of Terror going on in France?
It's necessary for liberty.
Yeah, we hate these people getting beheaded. It's kind of nasty business, but we're going to have to get rid of this upper class elite before anything good can happen. So it's a necessary evil. Federalists thought it was the worst that ever happened. A lot of people wanted us to get involved, right? Because remember our Franco-American alliance? So when France starts fighting, they thought we should get involved. Were we a strong military country?
No.
We were a very, very weak military country, and Washington knew this. So in 1793, he issues his neutrality proclamation, right? He issues, because France wants us to get involved to protect French interests, because in the West Indies down here, France is getting picked on. And they're saying, hey America, we helped you during the American Revolution. We have this alliance. We got this pretty horrible civil war going on, and we're getting our crap taken in the Caribbean. Tried to mix Caribbean and Caribbean, it came out wrong. You need to help us out. But who would they be helping them out against? The British? Do we want to get between the British and the French? Washington, we had this alliance. We promised we were going to do it. Washington said no, and he issues a neutrality proclamation. America's going to stay neutral. We were too weak. Ironically, Jefferson thought this was the right idea. Even though he's more pro-French, he was like, of course we should stay neutral. We have no strong army navy. This could end us. Most of the other Jeffersonians were furious. They thought we should get involved. We had a moral duty to do so.